you learn on the air that you're not going to be there.
It wasn't so jarring until I actually had to have my exit meeting at Howard TV, and I was kind of like, I was like really upset. I'm like, man, this is it. I'm done. Like, listen, we don't need a bunch of drunk guys on the show, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of like, all right, well, I won't drink. And I talked to Scott Einziger, and he was like, if the boss says you drink, then you drink. And I said, you know what, Scotty, you're right. Then I'm drinking. I don't give a fuck.
It's part 2 of my conversation with the great Brian Phelan as we run through some of the great moments from the show that he was part of. Let's take a listen.
No, I sent you this list because I thought of things that I've always watched and what it would have been like to be there. I think you were there when the Jesus twins showed up the first time, right?
Yeah.
And then they came through a couple other times.
Yeah.
What was that like around the building? Did people think this was like a giant joke? Because they were great. They were so funny.
They were great. They were very entertaining. So a lot of the people that we found us, really. Like Howard, Gary didn't go out looking for these people. These people just showed up, knocked on the door. Gary would go out, get their what's it called? Get their spiel, whatever you want to call it, and bring it back to Howard and say, hey, Howard, we got these two guys out there. They're a little wacky, blah, blah, blah. And Howard either say yes or no. So the Jesus twins just showed up. I think they had this other guy, their manager, Jonathan
Mendelsohn.
Yeah, Jonathan Mendelsohn. He was funny too because he was like,
this is superfluous.
He would be like any producer promoting his guys, and the guys were like, they were kind of cocky and out there, and he was like, these guys are the greatest guys ever, and blah blah blah. And it was a funny act, We didn't think anything of it. I kind of thought they were goofballs, So they got on the air, and I think Crackhead Bob was on the show. He was on the show when they showed up. So I think there was somebody else. Maybe, anyway. So it was Crackhead Bob. I remember him because he was sitting closest to Fred in the first seat. And one of them got up to fucking attack Fred, and Crackhead Bob actually stopped him. He was like, where you going, But they were like, they were funny, and they were entertaining, and they were, very abrasive and aggressive.
Did everyone think it was an act?
The greatest stars in the world.
Right, but did everyone think it was an act, or did people think this was because even the further out we get further out from it, I'm still not sure if they believed this stuff or this was literally just a wonderful performance art act.
Yeah, to me, I think they really believed what they were saying. If everybody else did, I don't think so, but I think they definitely believed they were the greatest people on earth. They were the greatest performers. Gary had a great line. I think there was the song was called "Feel My Ubiquity," and Gary's like, "It's more like you feel your obscurity,"
That's
So that was kind of funny that he said that. But the take is usually split. These guys are actors, or they're just whatever. They're just goofball. I took it for what it was worth. These guys are just entertaining. And they got on the show. They did the thing. They were on a few times, man.
Yeah.
They came on. They didn't perform once, which was, it was all right. I mean, it's not a song that's on my iPod or anything like that, but I did, see the performance. And I think one of them went crazy. It was in the Nut House, and then I think he died. Actually, I think he
suicide by cop. I think. Yeah, I'm actually in contact with his brother still. Trying to have him come be part of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he says he wants to do it. And I've told him, I'm like, listen, I think people want to hear from you. I think they'd be interested. So we'll see. It's been 3 years of us kind of going back and forth. But, I hope he knows that I really am interested and want to know how he's doing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of fuck-ups, how's Artie? Have you talked? No, but we always talk Artie. No contact.
I know as much about Artie as you do, bro. I haven't seen him in years. He gave me a number. It was changed, and that's that. I would love to see him, but I don't have no idea where he is or how to get in contact with him. He's on Twitter very rarely. I DM'd him once, twice, maybe. He didn't respond. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to bother him. Maybe he has an issue like I can't be with any of those people anymore. Who knows? When people go through stuff like that, they just got to drop everything that they did and go in a different direction. So maybe that's what he's doing.
Yep.
So I hope he's well, and I'm sure he is, since I haven't heard any other news about him. So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully he comes out. Another guy, of course, I'd love to talk to. Met him a few times. But as we talk about these great moments, Artie in Vegas, I don't know how hammered you got there, but we know Artie was completely out of
it. But no, he was. He got lit up, man. He got lit up. He had a blackout, and he was running around like a lunatic.
Was it fun to follow that, or was it more? God, this is.
You know what? It was fun, but it was crazy, man. Like I said, I might have said this the last time on the show. After the show, he was in a blackout after that drinking show, and I went to his hotel room, and he had thrown everybody out, and his mother, and his sister, and his girlfriend were there, and they were like, "Can you please take care of him?" So make sure. And I grabbed him, and he jumped in a limo, and we went to this strip club that he was making an appearance at, and it got really crazy, and it was a little scary because he was running around, and he tried to punch the manager of the club, and I kind of caught his arm, on the throw, and I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I called, Ronnie, and I'm like, Ronnie, you got to get somebody here to help me, man, because this guy's out of his mind. I think they're going to put us in a fucking hole in the desert, like it was like that serious, And sure enough, like a half hour later, Ronnie showed up with Howard and Beth and Joe, the other security guy. And Joe said something to Artie, and Artie just sat there and was like sedate. He was like, fine. Like, I don't know what Joe said to him, but Joe was able to calm him down within seconds. And then once they were there, I'm like, all right, he's taken care of. I'm out of here. So I went and did my thing. And then the next day I ran into him, and he was just like, listen, I heard what you did for me last night. I appreciate it, and he was just very thankful, and I'm like, dude, Artie, whatever you need, man, I got your back, you know that. And that was just it was fun, but it was out of hand. It was craziness, Like, again, they were drinking the whole show, and I was working the whole show, so I was straight, I was sober. So I'm sure if I was drinking with them, it'd probably be a different story. But no, we just I took care of what I had to take care of, and then moved on. So that was that.
You did get to drink during the MTV drinking show. We had a drunk feeling cam. I forgot about this, and it just popped up on YouTube a little bit ago, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty. Now that show, I don't know. Just tell me a little bit about that for you. But just as I listened to it way back then, what was it, 25 years ago?
Was 99.
I remember it not being great radio. Because everyone's just kind of out of it. But then watching it on E, it was completely hilarious. So
I had a great time. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you think? How did you? And did Howard like kind of say we shouldn't do that again? It was bad, or what? How did that? What was like the aftermath?
I don't know if he said we shouldn't do that again, because we did do a couple more drinking shows there. Like we did Artie's Roast, which was a drinking show. I don't think we really anybody got too hammered like they did at that show. But there was a couple more drinking shows that we had. How that started was, I'll give you a little behind the scenes. So when there's a big award show like that, there's a back area, and it's a press room. You got writing press, you got photo press, you got video press, and anybody who got an award would go backstage, and they just bring them from room to room, and they get their pictures taken, they get interviewed, they get whatever. So we were set up in this one area that used to be the Fashion Cafe that had closed. So they had this big open area, and we took a main part of that. So most of it was our setup with our studio and our, with the cameras and everything. And then they had like these blacked out curtain rooms, One was like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, whoever else, Good Morning America. They all had a room, and it's called a junket. And you just go from room to room, and the person gets interviewed. But we had the biggest room, so everybody wanted to be in our room because it was the part. Plus, everybody was drinking. So there was people there too, like that wanted to be on the show, and they just couldn't get on, because it was just like, no, we don't want you. It was like one of those things, We
said it on the air to a few folks. Like, I can't remember who, but he's like, yeah, we don't really talk to them right now.
No, right. They were just like, yeah, fuck them, Like, that guy's this guy, like, yeah, so what, we're doing our thing, But a lot of people did want to be a part of it. I actually was funny. I snuck my brother and my cousin into it. They were down the street, and I went to meet them before the show started, and I asked one of the cops, I go, hey, man, can I bring him in? He goes, dude, if you're vouching for him, you can bring him wherever you want. I'm like, oh, no, what? You're right. So I brought him in, and they got to see, behind the scenes and watch the show, and they thought it was fantastic. It was, like, so cool for them, like it's a regular person watching this whole broadcast go on. So the show started, and I had already started pre-gaming, I was already like 3 or 4 drinks in by the time we even got on the air. And we just started, I was doing handheld, and, this is kind of funny too. So my utility guy who was wrapping my cable, years later, he ended up being my director at the Islanders. He's like, we just started talking one day, and he's like, wait a second, were you the drunk guy on the Stern Show? I'm like, yeah. He's, oh, I was your utility, So how I got involved in that was Casey and I used to go to the track every so often, and we'd, bet the horses, and we'd drink. And one time I got really hammered, and I used to work at the track. So we were far, like the parking lot's all the way this way, and I was all the way in the paddock area where they saddle the horses. And I was really lit up. And they got me a golf cart to drive me to my car. So Howard found out about that and was just like, we're going to do this drinking show. We got to have Brian Phelan drink on the show, So that's how I got to be a part of it. And then since I was supposed to be like the only guy drinking from the E crew, a couple people were not happy with that. Like, the Pace was kind of pissed because he wasn't allowed to drink. Our producer, Robin, she was executive producer at later on, but she was a supervised producer. She was in recovery, so she was kind of pissed that, listen, we don't need a bunch of drunk guys on the show, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of like, all right, well, I won't drink. And I talked to Scott Einziger, and he was like, if the boss says you drink, then you drink. And I said, you know what, Scotty, you're right. Then I'm drinking. I don't give a fuck, So I just went all in. And I had a great time. We were lit up, and we were doing shots, and I was meeting all these people, hanging out, doing drinks with them. And I think we did a breathalyzer at the end of the night. I think I blew like a 1.5 or something like that, 1.8. I don't know. It was up there. And then afterwards, I had just did a bunch of shots. And afterwards, we went to this party, and it was like all these celebrities. And at that time, I think J-Lo was dating P. Diddy. And I walked up to them, and what I thought I said was, hey, man, I'm a big fan. You guys are great. And I think it came out like, that's that. And they were just like, who the fuck is this? And on top of it, I was still in my pajamas. So they're like, who's this guy? How'd he get in here? So they 86 me from that area. And then, like I said, I was with my cousin and my brother. And Howard's like, come on, we're going to go to another club downtown. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hang out with my brother and my cousin and just take it easy. So that's what I did. And went back to the hotel and crashed. So my cousin was funny, though. He's like, everybody wants to hang out with Howard. Howard wants to hang out with you, and you turn him down.
So we continue with Brian Phelan here. Once again, really enjoying this. And you mentioned going to the track with KC, and that brings to mind that wonderful story where he won $300,000 on Golden Palace and then lost it all within a week or whatever. Just tell me a little bit about KC. If you guys were buddies, did you know that he was losing his mind as well? Again, I just watched the one where he he has this moment where he loses his mind in front of Howard, and they're like, all right, why don't you leave the room?
Yeah, he was all right, Casey. I liked him. He was a good time. He thought I was like I had like the luck of the Irish for him. Every time we went to the track, he won big. I didn't realize, like, I go to the track, $2 to win. I'm not a big gambler. He would throw in these combinations. All right, give me 174, 292. Like, it was just all over the place. And he was betting big money, but he was also winning big money. So he would be like, how much did you lose today? And I'm like, I probably lost about, I don't know, $50, $60. They'd be like, all right, here's 200. I'm like, wow, KC, thanks. I appreciate it. But yeah, he's like, every time I come here with you, I win big, man. You're my golden charm, like I'm my fucking lucky charm. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So we got along. We had a good time. KC, I didn't know all that crazy shit was happening. He kept it to himself. He was low key. he had his issues, and I know now I heard he bought a radio station or something in Long Island. Gorilla was on it. I haven't seen him in years. But if I said, I saw him, it'd be like back in the day, hey man, there was no ill feelings. But yeah, all of a sudden, man, he wasn't there one day. And, rumors go, around the office, what happened and whatever. And it was all over the place. And, I think he was, I don't know, I think he was doing more shit than what people thought he was doing. And the next thing I know, he was gone. So I don't really want to get into it or what was going on because it could involve the other people. But I just, he was a good guy to me, man. I had a great time with him. Yeah, all of a sudden he was just, he won that money. And that's the crazy thing, man. He lost it with, that's a gambler, like you want to keep winning. And the next thing you know, you're losing. So that's what that is. That's that whole game. So,
yeah.
That's why I like these, I don't know if you noticed, but gambling's pretty much legal everywhere now.
Except in Missouri, yeah.
Right, and they have these apps, and they're like, gamble responsibly. Dude, you're fucking throwing it in their face to fucking gamble. Nobody's going to gamble responsibly. The people get rich that are, all these sites or whatever, but they're going to bankrupt a lot of fucking people with this gambling. It's crazy because people get hooked. Here's $5. You can win 150. And they go, all right, I lost $5. I'm going to try it again. I lost $5. I lost $5. I don't know. It's just not my game. It's not my vice.
Yeah, I hate losing $200 more than winning it. Like the losing of $200 will fuck me up for like 4 weeks. Right. Winning $200. Unfortunately does nothing to okay, good, I won, thank God. Thank God I didn't lose.
Right. I was just in Vegas and I was like, it was $25 a hand and I'm like, if I play 4 hands and lose, that's $100. How long was I sitting there? 10 minutes tops? I'm like, it's not right. I don't know, I just I went to this one place that had dollar blackjack, which I could deal with that. What am I going to win? Fucking $10 or lose $10? I'd take the, $10 loss. Big fucking deal, Yeah. But, I didn't really gamble that much in Vegas, but I was just more about, I went to Fremont Street. You ever been to Fremont Street?
I've been to Vegas like 30 times. I just can't believe I've never been to Fremont Street. That's
funny you say that because every time we went on the show, I never went to Fremont Street. And we stayed in a hotel right by there. And I went and I was like, this fucking place is cool. It was like old Vegas. They got the LED screen above for 4 blocks long. So it's all monitors. And it was a pretty happening, experience, I saw the Sphere, but the Sphere is all by itself right by the airport. And it was like $60 from where I was staying from the airport for the cab. And I'm like, unless I have a ticket, I'm not going to go to the Sphere and spend $120 on a cab just to go down, look at it, and come back. I'm frugal now, man. I got kids. I don't, my money is worth something to me now. Back in the day, I would throw it, around like crazy. Now I'm just like, I need to keep my money now.
It's funny because we're totally opposites now. I used to be very frugal. I wouldn't spend, but after COVID, I'm like, I might die tomorrow. We might get shut down again. Yeah. So we're gonna probably go to the Sphere. I don't think we're gonna see you too, but we want to see that. I want to see Fremont, and I want to do some dune buggying out in the
Yeah, definitely check out Fremont. It's definitely worth the experience. Even if you go just for the one night, couple hours. They have these bands set up. Actually, that was pretty cool. They had a band called Alter Igor. One guy was like Freddy Krueger. One guy was Beetlejuice. One guy was the Mad Hatter. Their set list was it was perfect for their act. They were like playing Bark at the Moon, Psycho Killer. They played a bunch of Metallica songs. And then the craziest thing is you're watching this show and all of a sudden like these people go flying by on zip lines right in front of you. It's like, wow, this is, pretty cool. Right. And the crazy thing is they have legal panhandling. So they have these circles set up on the floor, and it's about this, maybe like a 3-foot circle in diameter, and the people are allowed to be in it, but they can't come out of it to grab you. They rent the circle, and most of them are like women in G-strings taking pictures with guys. But there's some scary stuff too. Like there was, like the guy looked homeless. I don't even know what the fuck he was doing. He was just standing in it, And I'm like, what are we supposed to do? Take a picture, hand the guy money? But they're not allowed to leave the circle to grab you, which is nice, because they don't chase you down the fucking street to ask for your money. This one woman, it was like 2 a.m. We got there really late. Big fat black woman, naked, but she had brown pants on, but it was a skin tone. So she was just standing there, just jumping up and down. And I'm like, me and my wife are looking at each other like, I don't know what to do with this. Do we take a picture? Do we look? Do we look away? I don't. It was surreal, but it's Vegas, man. Yeah. It's thing happens.
Yes, there's even more to come with Brian as we talk about his trip to Vegas, a little bit more with Ronnie's wedding, his propensity for drinking and becoming the drinking guy, and what Brian's up to now. Part 3 coming soon. Thanks for coming. Subscribe and check out my description for the shirt shop. Appreciate you coming by, and we'll see you next time.